Hello. When designing a machinery shed or hay shed, there's a couple of additional features that are worth considering: a side canopy and/or a double bay girder truss. In this video, we will discuss the advantages of each to help you to make a good decision during the planning stage of your new farm shed. I'm Lennie, and first up, we'll start with the canopy. Now, the main reason to consider a canopy is fairly obvious: to increase the undercover area of the building. But when you take into account that there are no columns to create obstructions, it opens up a lot more possibilities for use. For example, when included on a workshop or machinery shed, it makes maintenance on air seeders and sprayers and this sort of machinery a heck of a lot easier, because there's nothing stopping you from folding them right out. As well as that, they're also a good option for hay sheds, especially when storing quite high, as it has the ability to protect the bale face from inclement weather, as well as providing extra storage. And speaking of wet weather, loading and unloading trucks undercover is another added advantage of a canopy. Now, obviously there's plenty of good things to say about canopies, but there's definitely one thing for sure: out of all of our customers that have included one in their shed build, none of them have said that it was a bad idea. So, that's a few practical advantages, but there are also cost advantages. For example, it will likely be a fair bit more cost effective to construct a 24 metre span shed with a 6 metre canopy rather than a standard 30 metre clear span, which is obviously the same roof area. So, when counting the dollars during planning of your new shed, this is definitely worth considering. And just on size, we find that canopies between 6 metres and 9 metres wide are most common and also the most cost effective. But having said that, we've constructed canopies right up to 12 metres wide. These will generally be constructed with hot dip galv open web trusses, whereas canopies up to 6 metres wide will generally be a hot dip galv universal beam structure. So that's a quick overview of canopies. And now for the girder trusses. So as machinery and equipment has increased in size over the years, such as header fronts and air seeders, so too has the need for larger openings on sheds to store them in. And this is where girder trusses have become a common solution. A girder truss or beam is constructed from either a heavy duty hot dip galv truss design or a heavy universal beam. And although they can provide large openings of up to, say, 18 metres, there are some downsides to them as well. One of them is cost. Depending on the size of the opening required, it will likely be more cost effective to incorporate larger bay spacings of, say, up to 12 metres than to adopt a girder truss. But of course, we know this may not work for everyone. And another thing to bear in mind is the clearance height requirements, as girder trusses or beams can take up to 750mm or 1500mm of clearance height. Therefore, the shed eave height is generally increased to compensate, and this then obviously can add cost to the overall cost of the shed. One option worth considering instead of girder trusses is constructing the shed with the gable span as the opening. So for example, it will be generally more cost effective to construct a 45 metre clear span shed by, say, 30 metres deep with a completely clear opening on the 45 metre side, rather than a 30 metre span by 45 metres long with one girder truss for a 15 metre opening. This has the massive advantage of having a 45 metre clear opening rather than just a small girder truss opening of, say, 15 to 16 metres. But either way, we understand there is a common requirement for large openings for machinery access, and so we find it best to discuss your individual requirements to find the best and most effective design for you. So that's it from me today. A quick overview on the pros and cons of canopies and girder trusses. As always, please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions regarding farm shed construction. Thank you.